world where education shapes the future, there is an organization dedicated to transforming the landscape of learning. FEDSAS organizes, mobilizes and develops its members to achieve and maintain the highest recognized international educational standards. For more than 3 decades, FEDSAS has been there to support schools, inspire leaders and to remain at the forefront of excellence in education. FEDSAS' commitment goes beyond words. It translates into action. We provide school leaders with the knowledge and skills they need to navigate the ever-changing world of education through carefully designed training sessions. Our website is a treasure trove of resources, providing our members with everything from legal opinions to training materials to ensure they can create the best possible environment for learning. To access this material, visit our website at www.fedsas.org.za. At FEDSAS, we believe this journey of transformation. Discover what FEDSAS stands for and be a part of shaping the future of education in South Africa.
Good afternoon, goeiemiddag. Dis lekker om so baie gesigte te sien. Welcome to Tech Talk at 3 on a Tuesday. We're still admitting some people. Thank you for being on time and rushing into the front door. We're always keen to have time with our members. Dis lekker om so baie gesigte te sien. Ek dink met so groot gehoor gaan ons heel waarskynlik bietjie meer Engels praat, so we'll just jump into that. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome at this session. Welcome to the session. It is a meeting platform. Dames en heren, ons kan almal mekaar sien. We can all see each other if you wish to. In the past, we always had a webinar platform, but then we didn't see each other. So just be aware of the fact that if your camera is on, we can see you, and it's nice to see some of the faces. And you will be able to unmute and speak to us. So be careful when and where you unmute. Just manage your Zoom platform from your side, and yeah, let's embrace the fact that we can meet together rather than just broadcast a lesson. Today, I want to just maybe kick off by introducing myself. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rian van der Berg. I'm one of the deputy CEOs at FEDSAS, and also the manager of the Centre for Technology, which is the division that we're working with today. I'm sitting in D6 offices in Stellenbosch. I'm on a road trip, did some training in Worcester this morning, and D6 graciously have us, hosts us when we're in the Cape area, so that we can have Wi-Fi, good Wi-Fi, and their offices. Also want to welcome today Maurits Kotze, our speaker from Schoolcoding. He's been with us before. He's a proud member and loyal member of the Centre for Technology for many years. Maurits and I go back several years. I think the first time we met was 2014, Maurits, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a 10-year journey already. And that's how long probably longer, he's been involved in school coding and robotics at various schools. You are welcome to ask questions. The panel board at the bottom might look slightly different than the webinar platform, so you can please chat with us in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. Type a question, tell us how you're doing. Let's chase the rabbits and have a meeting together. I see still some people coming in. I want to open the session just with a few opening remarks, and then we're going to hand over to Maurits for a short presentation. This is a very relevant topic. Maurits, welcome. I'll get you on stage in a little bit now. I want to share my screen quickly. Just as some opening remarks to this topic. Very relevant topic. I think I had 5 calls this week already from school saying, what are we doing now? When are we doing it? What is required? But maybe just to frame it and take a step back. The Centre for Technology has been in existence for quite some time now. One of our key anchors in driving the centre is the fact that we say we've got to learn as we live. Ons moet leer soos ons leef. Ons leefspasie En ons leerspasie moet mekaar weerspieël. We've got to reflect what we do in life in school. Bluetooth cars, we need Bluetooth at school. Flat screen TVs, we need flat screens. Awareness of AI, technology in and around, but we've got to do it sensibly. And that's where we need to focus on what are the needs of our learners in the future. And that's why we talk tech talks, or in Afrikaans digital, and maybe just a reminder that you can get our most recent magazines on the FEDSAS website. I'll ask Alreta to put the most recent Tech Talk magazine in the chat box for us, a link to it. I want to quickly jump into some thoughts. Our session today, why coding and robotics? It's suddenly very relevant, but we've been talking about it for 10 years, and I think Maurits even longer. But suddenly the department said so. We've been saying it's coming. They've been telegraphing the fact that coding and robotics is going to be part of the curriculum at some point in time. We didn't know how, we didn't know when, we didn't know which grades. But now there's a full curriculum published, and Maurits will quickly answer some questions on that and his interpretation. Then we're with the questions, but when does the department say, and how will the department fund it and roll it out? And what does the department say we're going to do? But we will have a look at that. I say, why do we do it? Because there are some skills that we require in the modern day and age that we can learn through this method of learning. Learning with coding, learning with robotics, and learning of coding and of robotics. We all know the 4 C's of the 21st century, and there's probably some extra C's already, but it's communication, critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration. And a lot of that happens whilst doing coding and robotics as well, especially in projects, especially in groups. And then the question is, why do we do other things? Past 5 years, when I've been talking to schools about why don't we just venture into this world of coding and robotics, the first answer is, but what does CAPS say? Second one is, but why should we do it? And then I ask schools, why do we do a lot of things that does not have a CAPS document? My school plays hockey, rugby, cricket, netball, does athletics, choir, debate, chess, public speaking, and many more. There's no CAPS document for that, yet we do it. And not because it's bad, and I'm not knocking those things. I'm saying we do it because it's good. It's in the best interest of the child. We do it because it adds value. It's part of the world we live in, and it creates opportunities. Same with this. So if you have the argument, we don't do it because there's no CAPS document, yet we do other things, then you've got to build the bridge between your two narratives. So yeah, maybe that's just an opening thought. My question is always, how do we do it now? Now it's real, and Maurits will give us some background on what the documents say. When I advise schools, I always ask them, what are you going to do? Where are you going to do it? So which curriculum, what type of lessons, where, do you have a lab? Do you have a space? So that's more practical and logistical. Who is going to do it? Which teacher, which consultant, which program? And then when? Where do we fit it into the curriculum? Where do we fit it into the timetable? Waar kry ons, as ons bietjie by hierdie taal moet steel, by hierdie wiskunde moet steel, wanneer gaan ons doen? So when are we going to do it? But I want to focus school leaders on why we do it as well. So there you see my 5 W's into how I think the decision-making process should be questioned for us. So yes, why do we do it? Very important. And then you know what to do. And this is why we bring you service providers from the Centre for Technology. And we've got several service providers in the game. You have to procure well. And we're speaking to Maurits as a friend of the Centre and a member of the Centre. He's got a solution, but we're talking more on the input on how to implement this and get our thoughts ready for when that happens. Maybe just a last slide. It is budget time in schools. We've got to start making decisions, probably not implementing in September or October, but we've got to gear ourselves and get ready for January. We've got many new SGB members, and welcome to those SGB members that joined the SGB after the elections. And we've got to think about how to get them into the decision-making process, because it's not a new thing, but for them it's a new thing. And then there's the new curriculum, which we'll talk about now. And then when we talk money, we've always got to just be cognizant of the fact, don't just buy the cheapest. Don't just get the cheapest. We've got to think value for money. 100% of a cheap product that does not work is 100% wasted. So get the solution that works for your school rather than just the cheapest one. I'll touch on this. We've got to figure out some decision-making indicators and pillars and ideas that we want to work with, and look at your needs. Look at your context. What do you want to do? What do you get ready? Moritz, I'm going to hand over to you to take us through your thoughts on this. Welcome to the stage. Help us out. I've got 5 calls this week. Should we do it? Should we not? What must we do? What must we not? When must we do it? Is the curriculum for 2025? Is it not? I'm sure you can share some insights, and I know you've got some slides to share. So welcome, Moritz, and yeah, we're listening to you, and I'll keep talking in between with you so that we can ask some questions. And ladies and gents, please ask questions in the chat box. We'll gladly assist you with those.
Thank you, Rian, and the FEDSAS team for this opportunity. Just double check that my sound is, you can all hear me. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight into it and share my screen. You cannot start screen share while others presenting.
On senior scarum, we're seeing
fantastic. Okay, so there's my screen. So the topic regarding coding and robotics, compliancy or best practice. So that is what we will look at. My first comment is it's not a new curriculum. It's a new subject. There's a big difference between a curriculum and a subject. We only have one curriculum, and that is the CAPS curriculum, and coding and robotics will be one of the subjects part of the CAPS curriculum. Now, regarding the CAPS, we were busy writing the grade 8 and 9 textbooks at the beginning of this year. So that could have been released by the end of this year so that we have the complete spectrum of books from R to 9. But on the 7th of June, this notice appeared, was gazetted, stating by both the National Education Policy Act and the South African School Act to give permission, that was the first thing, for the amendment pertaining to the National Curriculum Statement. So that is the CAPS document, the curriculum. And that amendment basically said that we are going to make coding and robotics a subject, and we will allocate time for that specific subject. Now, since 2016, when the department first started to talk, all of us wondered which sacrifice, or, you know, where are they going to cut the time for coding and robotics? And we will have a look at that in a moment. On the departmental website, the National Department of Education, you will find these free CAPS documents available for coding and robotics: foundation phase, intermediate phase, and the senior phase. And they were released shortly after 7 June. And then obviously people were frantic because when are we going to implement the subject, and how, you know, what needs to change. So I'm going to do a quick overview of this curriculum if you have not looked at those documents yet. Coding and robotics aligned with CAPS for foundation phase, intermediate phase, and the senior phase. So that is a fact. So that's number one. The second fact, that is your time allocation. This one over here. For grade R to grade 2, 1 hour per week, while grade 3 to grade 9 requires 2 hours per week. And this is now on your notional hours or your contact hours. So where did the time come from? Number one, it came from the life skills for grade R to grade 6 that were amended. And now you may ask, but what about grade 7 to grade 9? Well, this is the big shocker. For grade 7 to 9, technology and EMS will now be elective subjects, yet coding and robotics will be a compulsory subjects. So primary schools offering grade 7, high schools offering grade 8 and 9, your learners will have a choice between either EMS or tech, but coding and robotics will be a compulsory subject. Here I have just highlighted in blue the categories of the life skills subject that will be amended or changed. So for grade R to 2, here you can see 2 hours becomes 1.5 hours for the basic knowledge. They've made cuts on creative arts. There's half an hour gone. Physical education, half an hour gone. So when I looked at this first glance, it was like, okay, so we already complain that our children they have too much screen time. And now we are also reducing the amount of practical time or the physical time outside with the creative arts, even the physical education. So that was one comment and a question mark that I had regarding the new subject. Then for grade 4 to 6, it's the same thing. Creative arts have been reduced and physical education. So you can have a look at that one quickly, and then we'll move on to the next slide. So here was my question. If the time allocation for life skills are now reduced to accommodate coding and robotics, how can coding and robotics contribute to creative arts, physical education, and life skill knowledge? And when we assisted the DBE with coding and robotics in 19, this was one of the questions. We actually used the word sacrifice. So we are now sacrificing these subjects. And they said, no, it's not a sacrifice. You must rather see it as an enhancement or an enrichment. So coding and robotics are supposed to enrich the life skill subject as well. So coding and robotics, it contains elements for creative arts, physical education, as well as life skills. Here's just some practical examples. So if you have a look at your CAPS document for the foundation phase, as an example, there's a physical activity. Touch your toes for 5 seconds, and the child can have a worksheet like this with various activities. Stretch, touch your toes, reach as high as you can, or they can build. This was a technology card with a washing peg, googly eyes. There's a straw and buttons for the wheel, and they make this practical activity. So now we still have life skills or phys ed as well as creative arts. Or when you do coding without a computer in the foundation phase especially, you can have these code cards and you can make them large, and a learner, for example, if we've got all our actions over here, drop the balloon, jump, kick the balloon, clap your hands, hug the balloon, you can now decide how many times do you want to kick the balloon and how many times do you want to hug the balloon. And now you start to create a sequence, and we create this sequence to teach the various coding and robotics principles. So at this moment, I have not touched the computer, but I'm already introducing coding and robotics, and also touch on the creative and the phys ed side. So here's an example where you can have the learners outside, and with your code cards or instructions that a learner can draw, they can give actions and they can explain it, and this all forms part then of coding. Here's another example of a worksheet, and this example, the instruction was design a robot that can sort and collect a toy, pick it up, and place it in a colored basket. Now, this was one of the activities in the previous draft coding and robotics for 2021. Also, one of those activities where you look at it and you wonder, one child must now build a robot that can sort, Now, as an adult, just to sort and work with color sensing is already a difficult activity. How are we doing this with grade ones? And then you realize now you make use of these code cards where the child plays the role of the robot and you instruct the child to move forward a certain number of steps, turn to the right a certain number of steps. You even can have a code card with a pick up and a drop, and you program that child or that robot to drop the toy in the appropriate basket. So that's just an activity. This one, for example, where, and I'm just touching on creative arts or on life skills. This one, design a robot face, and then again, that robot will receive the instructions, move forward, move backwards, things like that. This activity, you give your child an ID card, and this is to explain cybersecurity or password safety, online safety, digital citizenship. This learner's got his ID, his pass, so he may enter the class. The same with this one. Here you can see this boy starting to be frantically searching, and he realized, I actually lost mine. And here in the bush, there's a guy. He's a cyber criminal. He's going to take that pass, and he may pretend to be this boy and can actually access the class. So again, without the device, you can teach some of these principles. And these are called unplugged coding and robotics. So if you have not heard of unplugged coding, this is now where you can use coding cards or activities without access to a digital device. So no tablet, no smartphone, no computer. Coding and robotics can be taught without computers or robotic sets through several approaches focusing on conceptual learning. This is brilliant for the foundation phase. And if you look at the foundation phase CAPS document, this is all that they are doing. It is unplugged from page 1 to the last page, all the activities, no need for a device, no need for a robot. If you've got your code cards and your activities, they can do this. So one of the questions that I get a lot is, what about training for our teachers? So if you think about the foundation phase, the teachers are actually already trained. They already teach coding and robotics on a daily basis. It's now just a new vocabulary, a new word. So they have to sort. They have to help the child to arrange objects according to size, according to color. These are all coding principles. There was another example of a worksheet that you could design. So now we have, similar to your Scratch block-based coding, you can have move one step, turn right, move another step, puzzle pieces that the children can use. If you're familiar with Professor Jean Schreiling's boats or tanks from Tangibles, this would fit well in here. Then there's your characteristics. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but just how we touch on algorithmic thinking. There's interactive games and puzzles, pattern recognition, logic. These are all the skills that are mentioned in the curriculum. Example, a game might involve arranging cards that represent different programming commands to create a sequence. There's another example, problem solving, real life analogies. How do you make a peanut butter sandwich, for example? Follow the instructions, write out your instructions. So this is brilliant for the foundation phase, but now what about grade 4 to 9? You know, are we using unplug activities right through the curriculum? And here's my question. While unplugged teaching makes sense for the foundation phase, there's mentions in the intermediate and senior phase about sensors, microcontrollers, coding platforms like Scratch and MakeCode. How can the unplug activities still be a viable option for these grades? And the answer, focus on conceptual understanding, and you can also simulate sensor behavior. Now, this means that even in your mini pads or in your theoretical exams, a learner will be able to explain, whether it's via role play in a peer assessment or individual, how a sensor operates, and they will also be able to explain that sensor, how it functions. Similar to how we would explain a natural process in geography and we don't have the resources at hand. Example, you have my child's grade 9, so she must now learn about electricity and Coburg power station. How does the core reactor operate? So without her visiting the power station, she can still explain how the power station operates. That's just problem solving and programming.
Matthias, can I quickly come in there?
Yeah, please.
Sure. My mind's spinning. There's a few questions in the chat box, but I just want to make the quick difference.
Pick easy ones, Rian.
No. I've got my easy one first, and then I'll get the ones in the chat box.
Oh boy.
A big difference is plugged and unplugged.
Yes.
Which unplugged makes it very easy to adopt because there's no big, as you say, it's only new vocabulary for some of the skills. So it's different, but it's very much the same as what we've been doing. We're just reorganizing and trying to learn the same things with a different concept. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then comes the big difference, which has, call it the non-unplugged or the plugged, the device world. And there's where we've got to make a distinction from coding to, call it robotics or electronics or hardware. And that's a big thing because now we see something different happening. My input now goes into something else's output, and that's for the higher grades. Is that in the CAPS document as you've looked at from grade 4 to grade 9? What is the department going to, call it, resource and staff in that sense? Just clarify the plugged. I like the unplugged, although I don't think it's ideal. I think we can do better than the minimum requirements. But the plugged world, where does the onus lie of resourcing and capacitating that?
So I'm probably going to step into something when I say this, but we must ask the question first, for who is this curriculum written? So in other words, if it's for every single South African, whether it's a no fee or a low fee, and there's no funding and no and the resources are limited, then that's the basic starting point where everything will be unplugged. So obviously schools where there's a fee-paying school and they can purchase the resources, by all means they must do that, because they mention all the sensors, the microcontrollers, the Scratch application or the MakeCode application. Those are all mentioned in the curriculum. But the stance from the department side is you can still teach, even if it's just one example or one teacher example, a set, that is fine, or one computer in the class, or one video where you can show this is how the Scratch software looks. But because the lack of budget is there, and this is a curriculum where you don't want to what you call it, you don't want to create a larger divide that we currently have in our country. So it's to give everyone a fair opportunity to learn the coding and robotics skills that are required. So obviously the schools that are charging high amounts of school fees will have the better equipment, but it doesn't help I'm being disgruntled because you are driving a FEDSAS Ferrari and I must just be driving my little Golf. That is just what it is, so your flavor, your school means look at the resources that you have available. Let's not compare too much with what other schools have in place, but let's start with coding and robotics.
Okay, so the curriculum is accessibility for all, and especially the
Yes.
lower grade. There's no big hurdle.
No.
I don't know if you've got some other slides. I've got 3 or 4 questions here from the audience that I could quickly want to drop into. Do you want to quickly finish your slides? Then we go
Yeah,
to the
so I'm
questions.
almost finished. So this one about compliancy, this was a tricky one. So if you read the Gazette for amendment and you think of a life insurance policy um, where you do an amendment, or you purchase a TV, that thing must now be insured. So you ask for an amendment to your existing policy. By when is that policy active? You obviously want that policy to be immediately in effect, because maybe something happens and you don't have that TV anymore. So the compliancy means that by law, this subject is actually, since the 7th of June, compulsory at all schools from grade R to grade 9. Now, that's something to chew on and to really grasp, that it's actually mandatory. So yes, we can now say we must wait on the department to provide us with the resources, that we must wait on the department to provide us with a starting date. Is it January next year? Is it now? Is it only in 2026? And we haven't received a clear communication. The only thing that we've got is the curriculum has been published and we know what it states in the Gazette. What I can add is the call for submissions for publishers. This is now for the national catalog. This catalog will only be published next year around August. And that is the catalog that your no-fee schools use with their norms and standards to purchase workbooks. So the workbooks for the foundation phase for the no-fee and the low-fee schools, which is the majority of our country school population, will only be available for the start of January 2026. So that gives us, in the meantime, the opportunity, the schools that can afford coding and robotics, that can afford a rollout, or the teacher that wants to start with it because she understands the unplug or he understands the unplug coding, they must start as the sooner rather than wait. So when must it be implemented? There's no clear date, but if it was released and you compare it to a life insurance policy, then it almost means the day of publication. And that's the one thing. And best practice, Rian, you touched on this at the beginning when you looked at extramurals at schools. Best practice is we need to introduce coding and robotics to our children. The aim at first was, let's introduce them to the 4th industrial revolution. Well, sad to say, we've actually skipped the 4th industrial revolution in our schooling system, because we are now in the 5th industrial revolution with AI, VR, and the likes, ChatGPT and so forth. That is falls under the 5th industrial revolution. And that's just back. Okay. Should I do this last question, Rian?
Go for it. Go for it. Yes.
Okay. So
very interesting.
This question is, remember we are now doing unplug, okay? Especially foundation phase, or let's say it's doable up to grade 9, unplug. Now, your school may have spent a large amount on coding and robotics. This could be hundreds of thousands. New lab that you've built, the new computers, the Lego robots, the drones, headsets, 3D printers, textbooks, subscription fees that you've got. Now, can you still make use of it? Now, 2019 and 2021, we had 2 separate drafts that were published. And now in 2024, the final CAPS approved subject was mandated and implemented. So, or, the word mandated is there. It is good practice then to cross-check your solution that you currently have at your school with that of the Department of Education. So you will most probably ask your service provider, your content, this subject, your solution, is it aligned to the latest curriculum? And my stance with the curriculum, if I compare the 2021 draft with the new subject, then the draft, I would say, is very shallow but wide. A lot of content. You've got internet and e-communication, all the application skills, the coding skills, the robotic skills, digital citizenship. It was a broad spectrum of skills and knowledge, but not a lot of depth was provided. Now with the new approved subject, it's a narrow but deep subject where there's a lot of learning that needs to take place. There's a lot of theoretical, a lot of practical work, and there's only 3 pillars or 3 focus areas for this subject. And then, Rian, I don't have a problem if you want to make these slides available afterwards, or you know how things work like that, but it's definitely doable. And then I don't have to feel like I'm rushing through all of these slides. Okay, this was obviously what you are familiar with the old CAPS, with the 5 pillars: pattern recognition up to grade 3. And that one then was then divided under algorithm, robotic, internet, and application. And all those skills, which were quite a hefty, long list, they are all gone. So if you look at the curriculum, grade R to grade 9, grade 7s, no HTML introduction. Grade 8, no Python introduction. Grade 4, no CAD application. Grade 2 up to grade 9, no processing, no spreadsheets, no PowerPoint, all gone. A large emphasis is placed now on these skills under coding, robotics, and digital concepts. The digital concepts is the theoretical part. You don't need a computer for that at all. Identify common uses of ICT. What's the difference between components and an ICT system? These are theoretical questions. The robotics, there's a lot of explaining, flow diagrams, creative stuff. And you can see all this is all listed in the CAPS document, and they are all the same from grade R to grade 9. And for those of you who are familiar with the outcome-based education, they are scaffolded or built on from grade to grade, from R up to grade 9. So you can have a look at all those skills. And what is now in the curriculum, a majority from, remember, R to 3, no mention of computers, but from 4 to 9, there's activities, and whether you have access to a computer or not, that or Scratch-like code cards. So Scratch only introduced at grade 4. For those of you familiar with the draft, that was already done in grade 1, grade 2. No Scratch Junior, just Scratch. From grade 5, starts to introduce the BBC microbit, which was already introduced in the old curriculum or the previous subject from grade 4. Tinkercad as a simulation, also grade 5 to grade 9. Still no mention of robots. There's no robot in the foundation phase. There's no robot in grade 4. There's simulations, and then they start to move in the direction of grade 5 to robots. There's a hand sanitizer, for example. There's a line sensing robot. There's a traffic light. But all things that can be done virtually or with simulations. This, for example, if you have the resources, make a smart home. This is 3 components: a BBC microbit, ultrasonic sensor, and 2 line sensors, and you build yourself a line sensing robot. Or water, where you measure the moisture in the soil, as a practical example. Again, if you know the theory behind it, and if you see screenshots of the code in your book, then you will be able to explain how the process, the input and the output. It's obviously better if you can have the physical components, but as I mentioned previously, your under-resourced schools will still be able to do this without, causing a disadvantage. And that's basically my song regarding that, Rian. So let's do some questions.
Yeah, Maurits, if you can share your slides with us, we'll we'll gladly share it with the audience.
So
Thank
I've
you.
provided
A
it
lot of
already to
information,
Elrieta.
a lot of information, and a lot of demystifying how far we should go. I think it's more categorized into understanding what it is. It's more categorized into getting various concepts. I'm excited about this. Two things that excite me. Number one, there's more detail. We can now aim at a target. Secondly is the floor of compliance is one element of it, but the ceiling of best practice is where we need to go. It's like, must we do coding and robotics? Yes, but not because the department says so, but they also say so. But we must do it because we want to do it, because there's good skills in this curriculum, the digital concepts, everything in that sound. That whole landscape is exciting me about the change. I want to quickly hit the questions from the audience, and if there's someone else, please pop a question or raise your hand. We'll open your mic for you and you can talk with us. The first question is a difficult one, and I think it relates to a second question. How do we accommodate blind learners? And if it's a curriculum, will the books be published in Braille as well? Do you have any information on special needs education or specifically blind learners, and what we should do with that? Any insights, Maurits?
Unfortunately not, Rian. I
Okay.
don't have any insight regarding that.
I will get back to that question. I know who asked it.
But it is a crucial question.
It is a crucial question. It should be inclusive, and there's a lot of inclusivity, especially in the Microsoft tools that I've seen. A lot of the tools, there's a digital bridge in technology to Elson needs. One of the best programmers that I know is a blind person that every time he hits the keys on the keyboard, the letter is mentioned by the computer. So he types and listens to every key that he hits. And he's full-time employed as a programmer, being blind. So we've got to go that route as well. Second question, Maurits. In the CAPS document, the time allocation for natural science in grade 4 to grade 6 has been reduced to 2.5 hours per week. It was 3.5. Maybe more of a comment. Is that right? So natural science is also accommodating some of this. Maybe just double check on that, but there's no big question there.
That's quite interesting. I haven't seen that. So it could be, but I'm unaware of it according to what I've got. So what did they say? What was it?
It was 3.5. Now it's 2.5. Natural science in grade 4 to 6.
So I haven't picked that up, but I can see in the new CAPS document it is 2.5. I'll have a look on the previous curriculum. I haven't seen where that hour went actually. That's a very interesting point. I'll make note of that.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon back to you. Will coding and robotics be offered in both English and Afrikaans? I'm not sure how it's been published. I think textbooks are available in both Afrikaans and English.
So the textbooks
as well.
Yeah, the textbooks for the national catalog must be translated and available. I think it's 4 or 5 of the official languages. I'm not sure about the intermediate and the senior phase, whether that will also be translated.
Thanks. I see the hand, Elsha. I'm just going to quickly go through the questions in the chat box. With schools that have already started with coding and robotics, example, Lego Education, or what other solution, what would this mean for our school? I think you've addressed it slightly in your third question. But yes, I don't think it's a bad thing, and you should not beat yourself with a stick to say, we started earlier, we're ahead of the curve. You just got to align and make sure that you get to the same outcomes, or apply it doubly. My advice is, for the last 6 years, before it's a curriculum, start a club, at least get introduction, integrate with other
Yes.
subjects, but get somewhere, and you can continue on that route. And a club could be a way of funding it as well. There's the Braille question. Someone said they can't hear a single word. It's good. The sound is good on my side, so sorry about that. We'll share the recording. Again, will be taught in Afrikaans as well. We've dealt with that. I think teachers are scared of the not knowing how to implement this. And I think that's one of the big questions. How can service providers in the market support the teachers? Some of it are, it's just new concepts. It's not a new subject, but new concepts. Your thoughts on that?
So so coding and robotic courses, obviously that was available for many years now, and some of the courses are SACE endorsed as well. But most people in the tertiary were waiting on the release of this curriculum so that they obviously can now assist your teachers who wants to start with education, so that they can also acquire the necessary skills. So you can, there's lots of free available courses that you can look at. So there's courses on Scratch, there's courses on MakeCode, but not a lot will actually tell you on the implementation. Yes, you can learn more about the pedagogy regarding coding and robotics, but at this stage with a subject that is probably now just over 60 days old of being published, you're going to struggle to find a service provider that's 100% aligned to that. Rian.
I'm muted. I'm so sorry. We've got a question. Are general computer skills also not important? Very much so. Don't think we need to chase that one. We've got to teach the language of speaking to a computer, not just speaking computer. I'm very surprised that schools don't teach typing, touch typing for kids to work with a keyboard. How else do we communicate with a computer? And various other skills there. Any news on the curriculum for schools of skill? Nope, not yet.
No.
We'll chase that and keep you posted. Will grade 5 to grade 7 learners pick up the curriculum without previously being taught these concepts, or should it be phased in?
If you follow the new curriculum, they will definitely catch up, because like I said, Scratch is only introduced the first time at a grade 4 level. The microcontroller for robotics will only be introduced at a grade 5 level. So unlike with the previous curriculum, I would have said for a grade 5 and 6 child, it would be quite difficult to just jump straight into the previous draft. This one is a much smoother approach. Grade 8 and 9s, they would also be able, but you would maybe require some bridging for the grade 8s to 9s for them to get on level, but it won't take too long.
Perfect. Elsje, ek weet nie of jy jou microfoon wil oopmaak nie. Your hand is raised, your hand is op. Wil jy gou vir ons 'n vraag vra of ietsie sê?
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm going to ask it in English, although I'm Afrikaans speaking. Sorry for any grammatical mistakes. I was just wondering about the grade 7 to 9 EMS or technology, because the school needs to choose between the two when, or according to the CAPS document. How would a school be able to choose that? Can you maybe give us any clarity on that?
The school won't choose, the child will choose. So the school must be able to offer both EMS and technology. The learner's the one who will have an elective. So just like with your high schools, where you have numerous electives, those teachers are available to teach those subjects, whether you choose them or not.
I think we need more clarity and support from our subject advisors from the department as well. So I think Open up a big can of worms here, but yeah, that's news. And someone asks, Maurits, can you share the link where that is dealt with? I also shared in the, Alreta just share the link where the curriculum is. It's on the DBE's website under the CAPS curriculum, education.gov.za. You
Yes.
can download the 3 documents. Is there scope for advanced robotics and coding? Question mark. When I was at school, we had computer science and advanced math for those who wish to extend their understanding specifically in mathematics. Would advanced coding be done at home with parents? That's like a ton of questions, but my quick answer to that, Maurits, is yes. For now,
Yeah, and that's for clubs.
Yeah, for now it's wide and it's access so that we all participate in it. But specialized knowledge can definitely be dealt with. And possibly as a club, as participation in a what do you call it, Olympiads, gaming leagues, and these kind of things. I don't know if you want to add to that. I'm going to quickly have a look at our timing. We still have some time. Oliver, you want to make a comment or ask a question? Your hand is raised. I'm going to open up the mic for you. You can just unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a question, right, with the grade 7 to 9 picking between technology and EMS, right? So now, from the robotics point of view, where they now need to work with microcontrollers building, now where we get into the electrical component of coding and robotics, won't the learners that chose technology perform better than the learners that chose EMS? And won't that be a problem? Because now I need to adjust my lessons for the EMS learners so that they can be on the same level as my technology learners who would have learned maybe circuits or electrical components or building in the technology subject.
A lot of that is already covered in your natural science curriculum, if I'm not mistaken, for the electronic components. But you can. Another question that you may be asking is, you've now focused on choosing technology, and wouldn't that be an advantage? But what about the child who do not choose EMS but want to become a chartered accountant? How will they take accounting as a subject from grade 10 if they haven't had the EMS component? So there's a lot of questions around that, and we definitely would require the subject advisors on this. Similarly, for the life skills, foundation phase or intermediate, I showed you that the time has been reduced to accommodate coding and robotics. So which pages are we now excluding in our books, for example, in life skills? So there's guidance. We most probably will have a new CAPS document for life skills as well, being released shortly.
Modus, there's a ton of questions, and I don't know if we're going to get to all of them. I'm going to sift through them and see if we can keep track of them and send it on to you. But we've got Matthew. Oh, Matthew just disappeared. Matthew, you had your hand raised. I think it's good fun to have interactivity here. So if you're still around, Matthew,
I know we pressed for time. So I'm also thinking about this EMS and tech. Is mentioned in the robotics CAPS document, or is that the mention of the selectiveness mentioned in the EMS policy document?
No, it's in the it won't be in the EMS policy document because there's not a new policy document.
There isn't a new one, yes.
No. Yeah. So it's mentioned in the old one, or in the new one, and that is quite early mentioned in the curriculum document. Under the time allocations for grade 7 to 9, there's a little star at the bottom that says schools or learners can follow option 1 or option 2, and the option 1 is your technology and the option 2 is your EMS. So that's an option. If you read that sentence, schools or learners, but I would say learners must have the opportunity to choose instead of the school deciding we're going to be an EMS school or a technology school.
So this is mentioned in the robotics document. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm on page 6 of the CAPS for grade 4 to 6.
Show us the document, Maurits.
Omdat ek nou dit doen, Rian, hier is die ding in my hand.
There we go. Page.
So ek is nou daar, ek weet nie waar hy op die kamera is nie, maar
ja.
Dankie, dit help baie. Dan net Rian, jy het genoem, you mentioned about touch typing. Is there like a ballpark age suggested? What age should kids be learning touch typing?
I'm not sure if there's a mention or if there's a pedagogy about that. I used the lockdown time when my kids were 10 and 11 to teach them touch typing for the time that they didn't go to school, because I thought maybe that would be a life skill that they would be using. And at age 10, they enjoyed the games that you chase the balloons, you've got to burst the balloon. And all these things. I used Purple Mesh was available, typing tutor was available. There's a lot of touch typing things, but I think that's
I do it from that age. I was just thinking, should I be doing it earlier? Yeah. Okay,
I think
great.
10 is a decent age. Yeah, happy with that. So that was good fun when we had lockdown. Colleagues, I'm going to quickly see if there's a critical question. I'm not going to touch on marks and how this will be weighted. It's very much the professional.
It's in the curriculum.
It's in the curriculum, but that's the SGB side of things. We must enable and we must finance and we must innovate. But there's a lot of professional management that's part of the document that your subject advisor and the professional teachers must go through. Look at the sharing or the options, the subject choices there in the document, which is also fairly brand new news on this platform. So go and see the detail. I think what we need to do is possibly have a follow-up somewhere, or just mail Moritz or myself that we can talk. But I think what's critical for me now is there's a new world. There is a physical document. It is a curriculum or a subject within the curriculum. It's changing other subjects, and we've got to start managing and navigating that now. The question is still, is it 2025 or 2026? I say it's when you can do it that it's best for the child, the interest of the child. And that is the debate. Should we do it or should we not? No, it's how we do it and when we do it, so that we get the maximum output out of it for our school and for our learners. It should not be a marketing ploy. It should not be something that is so expensive that it takes you out of the market. It should be something that adds value and prepares our kids for the world of work, as well as just skill them up. I did woodwork at school. Moritz and I laughed about it. It's difficult to do woodwork without wood, but at least I learned something in woodwork in the theoretical side of the subject to know that it is wood and woodwork. So there's something to say about doing driver's training, the K53. You can read the book, but you sometimes have to get in the car to learn how to drive. But you've got to balance these things. I've got to go. I think I want to close the session. I think we're starting to lose some people. Moritz, any last comment from you? We've got great questions. Thank you for participating. Thank you for opening up your cameras today and for opening up your mics so that we can talk together. I see some people that called me and WhatsApped me this week. Surika, Xenio, Biscaram. I hope you got some of your answers. Please go to the Tech Talk magazine and previous versions of that. Moritz has published in there, some other companies, and I talk about why it's needed, what is necessary. But we've got something new on the table now that we've got to navigate, and please keep talking. And maybe the professional learning community, the teachers themselves, will come up with better answers than myself and Moritz have at this point in time, and please share that. Moritz, last comments from you.
Last comment from me, Rian. Make sure that you take the time to read and view the CAPS documents. Don't just rely on a service provider telling you that their solution are CAPS aligned. Make 100% sure. And if you read through that CAPS document, you will see how the assessment will work, how the grading will work, the percentage, the mini pads even that will be compulsory. All of those things are in that curriculum. But thank you for this opportunity, Rian, and for FEDSAS. I really appreciate it.
100%. Thank you so much, Moritz. It was always fun having you, or it is always fun having you around and talking about these things. I want to urge schools to go get details. Don't be not knowledgeable. You've got to know these things and procure well. Look at solutions, get various quotes. Make sure you do the best with the limited resources of the school. to have the maximum impact for your learners. With that being said, thanks so much. It's on the hour, 4 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. The recording will be shared. Have a wonderful day and wonderful rest of the week. Take care, guys.
It
Thank
was so
you.
informative. Thank you so much.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank
All
you.
right, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Obviously.